Hey everybody, what's going on? Thank y'all for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. This is my tournament breakdown from me and Seth this past Saturday at Shoals Lake over in Conyers, Georgia. We fished a little John boat tournament trail. It's a club my buddy's in, so we fished it, and this is just my little tournament recap. We come in third place out of like 10 boats, I think. We had 14.06 with our 5 fish limit. Took 18.5 to win. And then second place was 14.20. So we were right there with a chance for second. We were 2 big fish away from a win, but we were right there. Second place is, not even 2 ounces away from our weight. Like I said, we had a good day. We'd never been there before, but this is just my little breakdown of how the day went and what we were using. So to start off that morning, the lake, it didn't open until like 8 or 8:15 that morning. So when we got there, the sun was already up pretty good at that point. But like I said, the gates opened at 8, and we started the tournament at 8:15, and we just trolled to the first bank that had shade on it, like a shade line. And I just figured, it's still early. There's some shade right here. These fish should still be kind of active. So I picked up this little topwater poplar, just like a little natural color. Had a aftermarket hooks on there because the bait itself is good, but the hooks that come on it are no good. And like I said, just threw that little popper, and the first fish we caught that morning was over a 3-pounder. Got this popper, and we got it in the boat and kept fishing down this one bank that had some shade, and then we moved to the next bank that had some shade on it across the lake again. Fished over there for 5 minutes. Boom, another one over 3 on this bait right here. Just this little popper, twitching it real slow. This time of the year when the bass are post-spawn and the brim are kind of getting on the bed and the bass are kind of in that funky mood, this bait right here, like a popper, is great. You can cover a lot of water and it'll get you a big bite. So like I said, we threw that for the first hour or so, just going down the shade lines, and only had 2 bites on it, but they were both good ones. So the day went on, and I started throwing around, throwing a wacky worm. I threw a frog a little bit, and I was throwing my little floating trick worm, and I was twitching along, and I saw a fish chase it, and Seth threw back in there, and he was throwing a wacky rig, just a stick bait, like this is a watermelon or just a green pumpkin, just a natural color. He threw in there with that and caught our third keeper. So we kept moving around, caught another one, a short, and I can't remember if it was me or Seth, but we caught another fish, our 4th keeper, on the trick worm, caught it on a wacky worm, and then our 5th keeper come on a windy point, and it was on the floating trick worm, just working it across a windy point. So at that point, it's like 10:45. We had us a limit, so I tied on a buzz bait, I tied on a mag draft swim bait, and I was like, okay, we just got to get a couple more good bites. We had 2 that we could weigh in and 3 that we need to get rid of. So we just, started going down the bank, and we started getting some bites. This is about 11:15 at this point. Throwing the wacky worm, and I was throwing just a trick worm. No weight, 2-aught hook, just that green pumpkin trick worm, weightless on the wacky worm. I caught a fish on it that cold. Had another couple bites, maybe caught a short or 2. And we kept going on the bank doing that. And about 12:30, we come across a bed fish, about a 2.5 pounder up there, real shallow. Super clear water. We could see it plain as day. And we messed with that stupid fish for like 45 minutes. Could not get it to bite. Threw everything we had at it, and it would we could get it to spin around and look at it, but it would just never commit. So we didn't want to keep wasting time, so we just kept moving. And about 5 minutes later, I picked up this trick worm right here on the wacky worm, and there was a blowdown, and there was a light spot, like a bed. I couldn't see a fish on it, but I could see the light spot. I pitched this thing right in the middle of it, and when I picked up, I saw the fish flare its gills and start swimming. So I just set the hook, and sure enough, it was on there, about a 2.5 pounder. Got him in the boat, so that cold. So at this point, we had 3 fish that we could weigh in, and 2 we needed to get rid of. But still, we didn't have a big one. Didn't have a big bite or nothing. So we kept fishing, and Seth caught some he caught one on the floating worm about that time, and I caught another one on the wacky worm, but they didn't help. So we switched areas of the lake. It's like 1:30 now. We had to weigh in at 4. and we're going down the bank, throwing our wacky worm, throwing the trick worm, and I look up and there's a 4-pounder on the bed, and the wind starts blowing. So we pitched in there, threw around for like 10 minutes, could not get it to bite. We just couldn't see the fish, and like I said, we didn't want to waste a lot of time, so we kept moving. We come across some brim beds that had some 3-pound bass in there cruising, fished them, could not make them bite. So we kept going, maybe caught a short or two that didn't help us on the wacky worm and the floating worm. And about 2 o'clock, we were going up a stretch, and there was some brim beds and some old bass beds, but there was fish in there cruising. We could see them. So Seth is fishing, and you can see it on the video. If you haven't watched it, go back and see it. But he sets the hook on his wacky worm, and he missed it. And about that time, I set the hook, and the fish had hit his bait, didn't get it, swam over to mine and got it, and that was on the wacky worm again, just weightless trick worm. So got him in the boat. Another one, over a 2¼ pounder, 2½ pounder, and somewhere along the way in there, we had got one that was right at a 2-pounder. It wasn't over 2, but it was right there at 2 pounds. So at this point, we had 2 over 3, a 2 3/4 probably that I caught on the blowdown that had the light spot, a 2½ and one just under 2 pounds. So I was like, okay, we are 1 bite away. If we can get that smallest one called out, we'll have a chance to maybe win or definitely do good and get some money. So like I said, I caught the one that called it was about a 2 1/4, 2½ pounder, and we kept fishing along in there, didn't get any more bites, and I pick up this mag draft, this swim bait. Like I said, it's about 2:30 at this point. The day's winding down. I throw this thing, like 3 cast in, 1 hits it. I set the hook. I think, this is it. It was a freaking pickerel or I don't know, some little gar pickerel thing. Got it in the boat, threw it back, retied, got it all rigged up, throwing. Boom, 1 hits it, and I see the fish take off. It looked like it was about a 3-pounder. It's hard to tell. The water was really clear, but it looked to be about a 3-pounder. I just saw it take off, and it never jumped, never did anything. I'm just, reeling, and it just pulled off. Like I said, the fish never jumped. We never had it close to the boat. It just pulled off on that mag draft. But like I said, it looked to me like about a 3-pounder, so it definitely would have called, and it would have put us in second place if we had that one. And like I said, we went back to those brim beds I was talking about, tried that some more, and it wound up, it was like, 3:15 at this point. We didn't have long, so we just started trolling back towards the boat ramp, just fishing down the bank along the way, and we wound up catching like 3 or 4 shorts that didn't help us. But most of the fish we weighed in came on, I want to say 3 came on a wacky worm, 2 on a trick worm, and 1 on a Senko style bait. And then the other 2 that we weighed in come on that popper. Just like I said, the first 2 we caught that morning, we weighed them in. And like I said, I had just over 14 pounds. Caught a decent amount of fish. We had a good day. It was an awesome day fishing. We just never had a big bite. Of course, the kid, or the team that won, there was a kid maybe about our age. They caught like 18, 19 pounds. He said they caught him on top water. And I believe it. They caught like a 7.5 and a 5. And we just, never had that big bite. Maybe we should have kept throwing top water all day, but I just thought that if we kept fishing them around them brim beds and throwing that wacky worm, that we would run across a big bite, a 4 or 5 pounder, but it just never happened. But like I said, me and Seth had a good day, come in 3rd place, and our main baits was a popper and a wacky worm, whether it was a wacky trick worm or a wacky Senko style bait, and then caught a couple on the floating worm and had a bite on the mag draft that pulled off. But other than that, like I said, it was a good day. We had a good tournament, and I appreciate all the support on my channel. I have a really good time doing these videos, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and then look in the description, on the top of the description, or in the comments. I'll have the link posted from the tournament, so if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. But other than that, that was it. And like I said, this time of the year, you could throw a popper and a wacky worm and a trick worm all day, and you can get some bites. It's that time of the year where the fish are getting off the bed, and they're kind of getting in that post-spawn, that funky mood. So just stick with it, and you can catch a lot of fish and have a chance to get some good bites. But other than that, that's all I got, and I'll see y'all next time.